The following is paid advertisement does not reflect the opinions of this station. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. The information presented in this program is general and is not intended to be legal advice and should not be relied upon or used without consulting a lawyer to consider your specific circumstances.
Questions about law, stories from the courtroom, cases that might impact your life. It's time for Tell Me I Have a Case with Dan Grimm and Matt Glenn from Cook, Barquette, Ponder, and Wolves. Find them at cbpw-law.com. Here's Dan Grimm and Matt Glenn.
Good morning and welcome back to Tell Me I Have a Case, the show where we invite you to take a second look at the world of personal injury law. I'm Matt Glenn, partner at Cook, Barquette, Ponder, and Wolves, seated alongside my tag team partner, Dan Grimm. Here, as always, you can find us on the web at www.cbpw-law.com, 573-335-6651. Today, our show is going to focus on ensuring there's enough insurance to cover your car wreck injury. And we have a special guest. Dan, who do we have in the chair today?
Greg Rogers with Golden Rule Insurance. Greg, introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, my name is Greg Rogers, owner of Golden Rule Insurance Associates here in Southeast Missouri in Jackson, Missouri.
So, Greg, you and I, we have that morning breakfast about 7 a.m. every Tuesday, and then one of the things we always talk about is that we wish there's a way that we could actually educate the community about how important auto insurance is. Some things we talk about as far as it seems like when you turn around, either people that cause accidents don't have insurance or they have state minimums. What have you seen in your business and your practice?
Yeah, so I have an independent insurance agency, and we're directly appointed with over 28 carriers. And so what we do is a little different. So we take a client from the very beginning, and right away we have the heart of a teacher, and so we go right into coverage questions. And we have some incredible technology that allows us to see their coverages in real time. And so we walk them through before they ever jump over to us. We get to see, like, let's say they're insured with State Farm. We can pull the declaration pages and look at all the coverages. And it's staggering how many people don't realize what those coverages actually do for them.
And I think that's what we're going to talk about today is what is part of the insurance policy.
Well, sure. And how long has Golden Rule been around?
So we began in 2009. A small little independent insurance agency actually began in my cousin's single-wide trailer in the middle of nowhere, Patton, Missouri.
Wow. It's a startup. It's a company.
It was. And now we've grown to 20 employees and very large, riding in multiple states, and it's been a ride.
It's fantastic.
And you're located in Jackson?
In Jackson. Mm-hmm.
Well, you might think it's strange, some of you at home, that two personal injury lawyers are going to be talking to an insurance agent. But I always say in these divided times, we need to look for what unites us rather than what divides us. And now, I have insurance on a lot of things, and I always look at insurance sort of through this lens. You know, I went to school. I've got a good job. I've worked hard to attain things and to provide opportunities for my kids and my family. And I buy insurance to protect all of that. Mm-hmm. But something that Dan and I deal with all the time is that, you buy insurance because you want a sense of control over this world. Mm-hmm. It's an uncontrollable world. Mm-hmm. The number one way people get injured in this country is in a car accident. If you drive from the age of 16 until you pass away, on average, you'll get in 3.5 accidents during your lifetime.
Wow. And
we pulled the stats. 16% of drivers in the state of Missouri have absolutely no insurance.
Wow.
Another 25% have the mandatory minimums, which are only $25,000. So everything in your life that you have control over, everything that you've worked to attain, what you don't have control over is who runs that red light and hits you.
That's right.
And how much insurance they have. So is there anything that you offer to people out there who want to control, in case they get hit by the 40% of drivers out there that only have $25,000 or less, that can provide them an opportunity to cover that loss?
Absolutely. It's a policy coverage that a lot of people aren't aware of on there. It's an option to purchase is underinsured motorist. And so if someone hits you and they have the state minimum and they only have $25,000 and you're injured personally, you have a policy coverage option if you have it. A lot of people don't have it on their policy. But underinsured motorist coverage is if that person hits you with low limits and you have a $100,000 bodily injury medical bill, then the difference between the minimum of 25 and 100 is going to be covered under that line coverage, underinsured motorist coverage, and it's pretty inexpensive.
And that coverage will cover not just medical bills, but also if you miss work.
That's right.
And
it's cash to you.
Yeah. So if somebody, if you're a carpenter and you break both your arms or something in a car accident, that's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's the coverage that then can step in and say, hey, you may have missed 6 months worth of work. Here's the money to cover you for that loss.
That's right, because let's say that particular carpenter has great health insurance, and it kicks in and pays for his health insurance bills. The $25,000 gets exhausted real fast. That extra uninsured motorist coverage, and you can have up to $1 million, will kick in just cash to him, and it's lost wages, time off work, however you want to use the money. There's no stipulation by the state on how you use that money.
So important.
And what about uninsured, if you're hit by an uninsured vehicle?
Yeah, uninsured motorist it's state mandatory for the first state limit, which
For
is
25,000,
$25,000, right? And so a lot of people don't purchase higher limits on that, and they go together, and a lot of it's just because ignorance. They don't understand that there's 16% of people out on the road with no insurance. That's staggering. That's a large risk that we take, but it covers you and your household members in your vehicle. So if they don't have any coverage, now you have a place to go get cash for your injuries that might, like you said, take time away from work, your ability to make life go on.
Yeah, and we always get the question. Our clients, if we have a client whose claim exhausts all of the liability coverage out there and then all of the underinsured motorist coverage, we always say to them, you had a $100,000 underinsured policy, but you've got an injury worth $500,000. If you would purchase that extra insurance, you'd be recovering $500,000 right now.
That's correct.
And they always say, well, how much does it cost to go from where I am to $500,000? I think people would be surprised at how little it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So I ran some numbers prior to this meeting, and from going from state minimums of $25,000, $50,000 of uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage, and also liability coverage all together is how I quoted it. From $25,000 to $250,000, it's $24 per car, and that gives you $250,000 of bodily injury coverage for others that you hit, and then $250,000 of these two particular covers we're talking about, uninsured motorist and underinsured motorist. So that contractor, instead of $25,000, he's now got $250,000 for his injuries, just cash to him.
And how important are these conversations when clients come in and start talking about auto insurance policies, for them and your agents to have this heart-to-heart conversation about what these policies and these coverages can do in certain situations or certain scenarios?
Dan, it's huge. The name of my business is Golden Rule Insurance, so we're looking out for their best interests. We're putting ourselves in their shoes. How would we want to be treated? And I would want to be educated on this opportunity to buy up coverage that's going to be so vital to my family and myself.
Absolutely.
And you said, all right, so it's $24 a month. And now every demographic is different.
Yeah.
What demographic did you pull there?
Yeah, so I pulled a 34-year-old married couple with 2 vehicles on this policy, and it's $24 to increase liability and uninsured, underinsured motorists.
And that's per vehicle per month.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, that's not much. So you think about a young couple, 32, 34 years old, maybe they're on date night, right? And you keep mentioning 2550 or 250, 500. So if 2 people are in a car, a husband and wife, and they're both injured by an uninsured or underinsured motorist carrier, in that 250, 500 policy, how does that break down?
Yeah, great question. So it's $250,000 per person. So both the husband would have $250,000 of cash, and so would the spouse.
If their injury's bad enough, that's the amount
correct.
they could recover.
Yep.
And that really gives them that sense of control over what they've built and what they've accumulated.
Yeah, it's an option, and the cost is $24 a month per vehicle. So when you look at that and you're like, wow, and you understand actually how it covers, then it makes sense. And so there's some ads out there, national ads, that says only buy what you need. And it's really staggering because there's no education coming along with that.
Well, and that's the benefit of going through an agency. You guys write for how many different carriers?
Over 28.
Yeah, so you're going to find the best deal out there
That's right.
for every insurer.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to have these conversations. We're going to educate, which takes time. And it's asking the right questions, getting them to fully understand, because how many people even knows what uninsured motorist and underinsured motorist is?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know it's an option or it's on their policy. And the reality is, if somebody gets hit by an at-fault party in a vehicle that only has $25,000 worth of bodily injury coverage, and they don't have underinsured motorist coverage, they're out. I mean, the only thing they could recover is $25,000 for catastrophic injuries.
That's it. That's right.
Right. And I think about how many people we have in this community who work in the medical community. You know, if you're what if you're a surgeon?
That's right.
And you need that fine motor skills, dexterity with your hand. But what if you fracture your hand or fracture your wrist in a way that you just don't recover the same sort of dexterity, and you don't feel like you can do that surgery anymore? I mean, that's a life-altering injury. Somebody like that is going to want to look into really maximizing their coverage. So did you run numbers for, say, going to $1 million?
Yeah. So going to $1 million, instead of $24 per vehicle, it's $38.
$38
per month.
Per month. So we're talking $14 difference.
Wow.
Good grief.
Isn't that crazy?
And
you can go multiple layers. So you can do, that's just for $1 million. We could go up to $10 million.
$10 million. Wow. I don't know if I'll ever earn $10 million, but Dan might.
We'll talk after the show.
We need to increase it.
Yeah, and so that I think is an important way that our clients and your clients can sort of assert some sort of control.
That's right.
Over what could be out there.
And it's important to realize there's this false assumption that insurance agents in general are making way more money by trying to upsell you. But no, we're actually looking out for your interest, because we make such a fraction, or on average anywhere from 10 to 15% of that $38. So it's $3.80 on average of increased commission, which is nothing. So there's not an incentive to upsell you on uninsured, underinsured motorists. This is
and you look at these numbers. I mean, as it goes up, it just goes up in coverage. It just fractionally goes up pennies.
pennies.
So it doesn't, by getting 3 times the coverage, your
That's right.
premium doesn't go up 3 times.
And I'm only having that conversation with you because I care. So there's lots of agents out there and agencies, unfortunately, that don't go into these conversations because it takes so much time, energy, and resource.
Yeah. Well, all right. So briefly, as we're running up against a break here, I always hear about umbrella policies. What can you tell us about those? What can those do for you?
Yeah, that's what we had mentioned, getting up to $1 million. So car insurance policies usually stop at $250,000 of bodily injury per person, $500,000 per accident, and an umbrella policy goes above and beyond that. And like I said, we can do. It takes the coverage from $250,000 to $1 million, or we could take the coverage from $250,000 per person to $2 million or $3 million per person, and we can show the cost real simple.
How can the folks find you?
So great question. GoldenRuleIA.com is our website. Our telephone number is 573-866-2699.
All right, we appreciate Greg Rogers of Golden Rule Insurance joining us. That does it for our first segment. We're back in a few moments to take a look at our second segment. Dan Grimm, Matt Glenn, cbpw-law.com. Thanks for listening.